Supreme Rice. Since the 1930s, supporting Louisiana farmers and communities throughout Louisiana. To find out more, go to supremerice.com.
Everyone wants to be stronger, not just physically, but in every part of life. But between confusing workout advice, complicated equipment, and trying to figure out nutrition, where does anyone even start? Well, to get stronger mentally and physically, go to Anytime Fitness. You'll get a personalized training, nutrition, and recovery plan, all customized to your body, your strength level, and your goals. You'll get expert coaching to optimize your results, anytime, anywhere, in the gym and on the Anytime Fitness app. And you'll get anytime access to 5,500 gyms worldwide, all with the right equipment to level up your strength gains and your life. So get started at AnytimeFitness.com. That's AnytimeFitness.com.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Handegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Modesto, tacos, tequila, whiskey, less than a mile from Tiger Stadium. Welcome to Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Handegriff, Jimmy Ott, Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Randy McKay and Wes Reynolds both with us today with their thoughts on the upcoming weekend as we make the turn into that. And Scott Rabelais with his thoughts on LSU and South Carolina. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir. You know, it's game week when we're doing the Modesto walk-on swing, so to speak, you know, right, kind of working our way toward Tiger Stadium. So both are obviously very popular, you know, for on game day.
0.9 miles to the gates of Tiger Stadium from here. So it's an easy walk on game day for before and after the game. It is a SEC teleconference on Wednesday. This one for Brian Kelly was pretty nondescript. There wasn't a whole lot of hard news or anything there other than that they are coming off an off week, getting through self-scouting. Says we've seen a lot of three-man fronts. We've been pretty clean. We want to be better in the balance of run to pass. That's been our focus, running the football, which is, you know, obvious, I guess. And, you know, when he said last week, I think it was, well, we need to focus on the passing game because that's how we're going to reach all of our goals. You know, we're never going to be a power running team that relies on that as our meal ticket, but it's something that you have to be able to do. And I agree with all this. You got to be better in the run. You got to be better in the pass. You got to be better on offense. And, you know, how Nussmeier looks on Saturday is going to go a long ways toward determining all of that. And I expect another update tomorrow from Kelly after practice, and then he does his coach's show on Thursday night. And I'm sure we'll get another update, you know, between that point and Saturday. But I'm going to say, I said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again today, probably end up saying it on Football Friday, and probably end up saying it multiple times on the pregame show. Nobody knows how Garrett Nussmeier is going to feel on Saturday, including Garrett Nussmeier. You can go through all of the, you know, protocols and all that. You do the best you can, and you hope that he's good, and maybe he will be, and maybe he won't. And maybe he will be some of the time, maybe he won't. That's what we saw against Ole Miss. So that's the biggest thing as far as this game is concerned. In my opinion, it's not. Nussmeier's health and effectiveness is not the biggest thing in this game?
No, Nussmeier's health and effectiveness has a lot to do with your approach and your offensive line, your protection, and how you have a running game to try and help him out. And so that's what, you know, Arch Manning, you know, against Oklahoma. I mean, you know, are they going to be able to have a running game or a good protection, you know, protect him, things like that. That's what's going to help him out. So, no, you got to help him out. And I don't think he's gotten a whole lot of help.
I agree. You got to help him out. We're in agreement on that.
And, you know, does he have a handful or less of plays where he had protection, he had a guy, and he didn't make a throw? But the majority of the snaps is on the running game and the offensive line. Vast majority.
I wouldn't say vast majority. I would say more. I would say, okay, we disagree on the percentage here. I think we agree on
the game 4 times. So I mean,
I've watched the film
and Ole Miss is not not a respected defense.
They're not, and that's why I was screaming about the run game as soon as we got into the post game. We may disagree on the percentage, but we agree on the principles.
Everything's a focus on Nussmeier, and that's what the common fan does, and that's what the casual fan does, and has done that forever. And anybody who's played quarterback or had a kid that played quarterback or coaches knows that the quarterback gets way too much credit. It's to the point we talk about it all the time. It's Brady versus Mahomes. Is it a tennis match or is it a football game? Did Mahomes play pitiful against? Did he show up and was he in effect, or did he not have any time to throw against Tampa Bay in that Super Bowl, that COVID Super Bowl? I mean, so you had so much attention on Nussmeier, and what, did he throw the ball good against SLU? Well, he had time. Did he look physically okay? Looked physically okay against Southeastern.
And for times at Ole Miss, he looked physically okay. But when the quarterback spends a week at practice not throwing a football, he's not physically okay.
Kelly's at fault there.
Okay.
Kelly's at fault with the whole, do you rest him, do you not? Is he hurt, or does he? You got to wait to the bye week. Well, Southeastern's a bye week.
They should have rested him.
We're
100% in lockstep on that one.
He's at fault there. He is, make up your mind. And then we get into it where 90% of what a coach says is garbage as far as what we can go by. Pay attention to what's going on, not what he says. Okay? And that's the main thing. And, man, he's in some tough spots, man. So you start back to square one. You have and would he have been at full 100%? Charlie, there's a lot of players playing football at all levels, ain't 100%.
I'm not talking about 100% as far as feeling up to everything. I get that. You're halfway through the season. You get beat up.
We put more on Nussmeier? I don't. That's fine.
There's a difference between being hurt and being not able to physically make the plays that you're capable of making. And, yes, he is in a lot of bad down and distance situations because they can't run the ball on first down, but he's also in situations where he's protected and he can't make the throws, and that's what concerns me.
Okay, and that's where I'm saying that when you're hit or you're pressured, it affects the plays where you're protected too. They said, wait, man, what's he rushed for? Because he's gotten hit. It's a residual effect. It's a carryover effect when a quarterback's getting hit or moved off his spot and he's throwing against 8-man coverages. That's going to land it. Wait, what's this? Where's this decision coming from? It creates frustration. It creates rushing you even when you have protection. It creates where you have that corner of your eye is looking at the rush a little bit. So that's my part as far as, he was fine here. Well, there's a carryover effect when this stuff, and it lends itself to frustration. And, but he made a pitiful, both games, Florida and Ole Miss, made a pitiful decision. Pitiful. Why is he making that decision right there? Is it sort of frustrating? He's pressing and he just feels like he needs to make a play? Maybe so. But we killed him for the Ole Miss game and we kind of forgot it because they beat Florida. But both were equally really bad.
And in between that, he looked pretty good against Southeastern. He looked healthy throwing the football. That's my thing is the protection. I get it, and I'm not disagreeing with that. And the lack of running.
If they run three, I've never seen nobody be able to block three.
Well, and they didn't try to run the football at them to take the pressure off of them. If they run for 52 yards this week against South Carolina, they're probably going to lose.
There's a big. You saw though in the Ole Miss game them trying to get creative because it was such a drop off from their starting
without
running back.
Durham,
Yes, and that to me that's actually some creativity to try and that doesn't require protection. You just these extended handoffs to the perimeter, and they actually got a little bit of production.
Xavier Thomas has been been productive.
So we're killing them, but I'm watching the game. I'm like, man, this is actually a good job where they can't run the ball, and they're doing some things creative. So that led to them really abandoning, just handing off to the running backs as well.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, that was a little bit circumstantial. We again by the numbers, you had 27 rushes against Clemson and 20 against Ole Miss. You had Durham for the 27. Would you rather? We credit them for their balanced commitment to running game, did we not?
Yes.
Against Clemson? We did.
Yes.
Let's be fair with ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you're going to drop off some without Durham. So if you go to 23 instead of 20, I mean, that's the minimal. The what the glaring thing is Ole Miss, they did some things defensively. It was so extreme that they were daring you, and they knew when you didn't have Durham, you were going to be more reluctant just to hand the ball off, and they that's good coaching. That's good coaching. So, did Ole Miss outcoach LSU in that game?
Circles around them.
Yeah, so,
circles around. South Carolina's rush defense, by the way, is not that much they're better at this point in the season than Mississippi.
They're not
Ole Miss
what they were last year. That's obvious.
They're closer to the bottom. They're they're 11th out of 16. So
what kind of all right stats early? What kind of offenses did they play? Missouri's pretty good offense.
They played Virginia Tech.
No, they're not good. And it was the first week, and Sellers looked bad throwing the ball in that game.
Yeah, they played Kentucky, who is not a very good offense.
No.
They played Missouri.
No, Missouri's good. I just said that.
Yeah. And then you played.
That's kind of bad. Who else?
Who did I not say yet?
Vanderbilt. We know that was a little bit circumstantial.
Yeah.
So. It's a balanced schedule. I'm saying we can read into those stats with that schedule.
Mm-hmm. And they can't run the ball either. They're actually worse rushing team than LSU. They're the only team behind them in the conference so far. Same competition.
Sellers, what's his number? Is he negative yardage because it includes his stats? So he had like negative 26, 28 yards against Missouri.
For the season, Sellers has run for 98 yards on 48 carries, of which I got to check how many sacks that is.
20.
It's a lot. They're 111th in the country in sacks allowed, so it's a lot.
And so the scouting report on them. Can South Carolina, a program,
15 sacks total in 5 games.
Not as much as I thought. Can a program like South Carolina lose the pro guys that they lost last year? No, they can't. You saw it's a big drop off defensively. Can Sellers carry this team on his shoulders? Check out their 5-game stretch here. And this is why I picked them under this year. And we've been in those SEC media days with those predictions long ago.
Yeah.
When they get burned by a team, if they predict them, they're just a year behind.
Right.
If a team, they pick low, they follow them up the next year. Well, the quarterback's coming back. They should be fine. Huh? They should take the next step. No, he's going to get better, should be better, but the rest of certainly the defense is a big drop-off.
It's a 5-game stretch of which 11th 3 on the road, of which 11th ranked LSU is the lowest ranked team.
So Charlie, just tell me, let's revisit, and it's okay. This is a great thing about our format. We have different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a better sport like the baseball to kind of second guess. I mean, that's the art of the game. That's why play calling is and design and the whole thing. The Jerry Neuheisel thing, the effect on Nico, all that. It's a lot of fun. But you don't think we're just putting a little bit on Nussmeier and everybody else?
We agree on the problems. We disagree on the percentage. I think that if Nussmeier is not healthy and close to the top of his game, they're going to have a hard time winning. Now, if he is healthy and he goes out there and throws for 300 yards and they lose, then I'll say, you know what, man, he did everything he could. But I don't think he did everything he could against Ole Miss, nor do I think he did everything he could against Florida. Some of it physical, some of it mental. But we agree that this is a multi-tiered problem offensively. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to put it all on him. That's not fair. But a lot of it is on him, and that comes with being a quarterback. So we've got. I think we're saying the same thing at different percentages. If Nussmeier goes out there and throws 3 interceptions, they're going to lose. If they go out there and run for 52 yards again, they're probably going to lose. They need they need just a little bit of balance.
Okay.
They're getting Durham back. There'll probably be a new starting offensive 5. Because I think Kern's going to be in there somewhere, but I think Davis is going to be back. So,
Kelly tried to fire off warning signs before they even teed it up in Clemson. I'm going to rotate 8 on the offensive line.
Yeah,
I'm going to, although they played 7, still who says that? So he tried to fire the warning signs. And so, where is LSU's schedule as far as us getting an accurate read on their statistics to this point? It's pretty balanced, huh? The defenses. Clemson, average defensively, would you say?
You've played three teams that at one point were in the top 15.
No, we're talking about defenses.
Okay, defenses.
Because we're talking about offensive numbers here. I'm going to get to.
I think Clemson is an adequate defense.
Okay.
They're probably not quite as good as they're billing, but I don't think they're bad.
SLU's not great. Okay.
Let's throw that game out.
No, but these are stats.
Okay. The stats from that game are inflated.
Okay.
I think Florida's defense is very good.
It's very good.
Very good. I think that Ole Miss's defense is pretty bad.
Right.
Pretty bad. So and La Tech is for a rental win. La Tech's better than a lot of teams.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How much are they scoring a game?
If you throw the Southeastern game out, 16 points a game.
This ain't just on a quarterback, dude.
And it ain't just on the offensive line. It's on everybody.
Well, I think the offensive line is by far. This is the weakest offensive line I've seen at LSU.
They're
in
bad.
My time. I'm talking about since Charlie Mack.
And the reason I think he said 8 offensive linemen back in August, is just my opinion, is he felt he had some more talented kids in the two deeps that he had actually in the starting lineups. That's my opinion. I think Cohen Eccles and Carius Kern bring more upside than the guys that they had starting right this second. We'll see what happens because both of those kids could play on Saturday, and both of them have played. Okay, so have they found the right combination yet? Have they gotten enough time for the younger guys? I don't know. And I want to see I want to see the first 5 Saturday.
Let's look outside let's get out being so myopic here, and let's say, okay, is Penn State falling below expectations offensively?
Yes.
Their offensive line is not performing to expectations. Is Clemson falling below expectations offensively?
Yes.
Their offensive line is Texas.
And they don't have a back. It surprises me that Clemson doesn't have a back.
No, they knew they didn't have a back.
Right.
They said, man, we don't have a running back.
I'm surprised that they found themselves in that position.
But the best offensive line in the history of the – no, that's not –
he didn't know to go get a back one. I mean, he's Clemson.
State's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they have everybody back on the offense.
And they tried. They actually ran those 2 cats 19 times on Saturday.
Combined?
Yeah, 19
That's
times.
not as much as they did last year.
For 89 yards. You know, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And they were behind the whole game. You know, they were behind wire to wire.
Aller should never be that. Okay.
No, I'm not going to.
So, I mean, it will bring you down, man. It will bring you down. So no running game and no protection. That's kind of hard. That's tougher circumstances for the quarterback, and
you'll see too.
And if you want to argue that, we can argue percentage, but
we both agree they've got dual problems. I'm not without sympathy for Sloan. I don't think he's done a great job. But when you say, man, look, this offensive line has performed at the level that it has. Your quarterback is somewhat compromised. Your running back is out. It's tougher to call plays there.
You have to now. You have to have the approach you had at Clemson. Nobody was killing Sloan. Nobody was killing the offensive line. Nobody was killing the lack of balance in that game. Now, are you going to see the blueprint that Ole Miss provided? You better be prepared for it. You better not be blindsided. And you gotta. I'm sorry, those offensive linemen, their onions need to drop and try and hit somebody.
They have been called everything in the book, and I'm talking about by ex-players as well. So if their pride's not jarred a little bit, God bless.
Don't forget, and we talk about just down the street here from at Modesto for the LSU football game. And our game day specials, man, $3 fireball shots, $3 tequila drop shots, $3 domestic bottles, $4 imports, $4 seltzers, 32-ounce margaritas. Game day margaritas are just $21. Pick it in specialty menu items. In addition to our regular menu, the pickled jalapeno fries, the tomato tango wrap, shrimp flautas, and the birria burger. Game day nachos as well. And you know what? We have reservations available for Friday night and all day Saturday. So it's filling up, but we still have some available right now. So reserve your spot. At 4 p.m. to close Wednesdays tonight. Margarita flights and tequila flights. So really good stuff. It's a sampler, basically, of margaritas and tequilas. That's Wednesday nights, 4 p.m. to close at Modesto.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show is available on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. It's brought to you by Supreme Rights, supporting Louisiana farmers, grown, milled, and processed in South Louisiana since the 1930s. Go to SupremeRights.com. College football notes is we got college football tonight, by the way. Coosa, this is the second or third year they've done this, where they into October. The MAC is dominated Tuesday, Wednesdays in November.
Coosa, Sun Belt, MAC.
Yeah,
some Mountain West.
A lot of bad teams in Coosa playing tonight. If you're desperate for football,
Coosa is really, when the American kind of took over, it's as weak as it gets.
But how do we say in July? We'll take any football.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It'll be on the side of the baseball.
Quadruple header in MLB playoffs today, too.
2 o'clock start,
solid day for a Wednesday in October. Charlie, Miami 28-22. Wasn't as close as the final score. It was 28-3 at one point. It was 7-3. And Florian Castellanos forced one. Freshman safety for Miami. And I'll talk about their line of scrimmage, but boy, they got some speed too, man. He caught the ball and he got up the field. I mean, about a 30-yard return. He was going. You know, the old school, man, you get a big play, take your shot. And that's exactly what Cristobal and the Canes did. They ran a little slant flag type of pattern, double move, and Carson Beck made a gorgeous throw. I mean, this was a big-time throw. Accuracy, touch. I said yesterday how we're talking about the quarterbacks did not have to carry those teams. These teams were, at the line of scrimmage, defensively, athletes, speed, playmakers, you name it. The quarterback was a game manager for it. Even a Steve Walsh, guys and stuff like that. But Jim Kelly probably is the one that had to carry, and that was at the very early stages of Schnellenberger rebuilding this thing. So I said, Beck just has to play the – Charlie, I kind of cut him a little short. In my eyes, he is playing the position perfectly. He is not forcing things when they're not there. They're okay to punt. They've got a defense that they didn't have last year. Ward, no, he had to score almost every possession. And then we talk about, does he have – he's got size. He's got arm strength. He can do it. But the touch and the accuracy and the decision-making, he's got a nice 1-2 punch. The kid that transferred here is more of this possession receiver. Daniels, who maybe that unbelievable catch for a touchdown against Notre Dame has kind of just cranked up his confidence level. On a third and long, they ran like a little shallow crosser screen, which he took for about 26 yards for a TD, made exactly the right cuts to get it. And then this guy who's mostly in the slot, who's their guy who can really fly.
He's freshman, Malachi Tony. He's the talent.
So Tony had 2 TDs, and Daniels had 2 TDs. But Beck's not my guy, and sometimes a change of scenery can kind of give you a different approach and a reset on being more of a leader in the locker room instead of flaunting some of the things you have that the quarterback gets in this era that the rest of the roster doesn't get. Charlie, he's playing the position really, 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 really well for Miami.
I remember watching the game. We were in Vegas last year for the LSU USC game, and the first game of the day up on Saturday was Georgia and Clemson in the Dome. And I was watching that thinking, my God, this kid's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. He's a better athlete than he's given credit for. He's got the arm. He's got the time in. He's played a lot of football. It's his third full year as a starter. And I thought watching him that day, they blew Clemson out of the Dome. I said, man, this guy's going to be a really high pick. And then it sort of slid on him. I've never doubted his athletic ability or his arm talent. I've always been a little bit nervous about his leadership, and when he left Georgia, I thought, man, this is a bad look. Okay, you're at one of the 2 or 3 premier programs in the country. You've already been the starter. You'll probably be the starter coming back, and you're shying away from that, and that bugged me. But there's just enough knucklehead stuff on the outside to give me a little pause. But then you got to think about, is any of it really so damning that I wouldn't go with this guy as my quarterback? And to this point, no. He's not knucklehead to the point of Johnny Manziel or Jameis Winston when they were in college. He's got some leadership stuff that I'm not wild about, but man, he looks good. And the physical ability to play quarterback has always been there. And I think his decision-making has improved.
No, he's doing everything right. I mean, taking his shots when he has it. The deep ball has air under it. It has accuracy. These are some tough throws that he's making. And then he's getting the ball in his playmakers' hands. And then, if something is not there, he's not panicking. No, just punt. He is playing the position the way it should be played. He's really, really, they've got all the pieces. All the pieces.
Yeah, because they've got a good running game to go along with him.
Yeah. And when it's short yardage, they come off the ball. They have a power running game. It's not overwhelming, but it's part of it's there. Just worry about the knucklehead on the sideline in close situations managing the game.
Who did I tell that to yesterday? It's like, we were talking with Bowles off the air. It's like, man, look, there's nothing wrong with that team. Cristobal will cost you a game from time to time with a game management decision, but they look great.
Texas A&M. Texas, there's their first three games defensively. Texas San Antonio scored 24, Utah State 22, Notre Dame 40. And then Elko says, why did he get the job? Why did he get his job at Duke? Because of his success as a defensive coordinator. And so he takes over the defense. Auburn has problems on third downs, but 10 points. Mississippi State, 9 points. Combined third and fourth downs for those two games, 1 for 25. I don't care how bad you are. Now, Marcel Reed is much improved. He had a really bad first half against Mississippi State. He kind of picked it up in the second half, but he is much improved. We know he can run. He's much improved as a passer. He's got a lot more touch. Is this A&M team? Is this sustainable?
Well, I think the defensive stuff is when you look at what they were giving up early. They gave up over 200 yards on the ground to Texas San Antonio to open the season. And by the time you get to the Auburn game, they held a pretty good Auburn rushing attack to 52. Okay, that's a great deal. The rushing defense has been getting better every week. Okay, is that on Elko?
He's a line of scrimmage coach.
He's a line of scrimmage coach. So you went from allowing 200 yards to Texas San Antonio to the last two games allowing 52 to Auburn and 77 to Mississippi State. Yeah, I'd say the defensive stuff is sustainable. Now the schedule's going to thicken up a little bit on them, but I'm more into Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed, I thought, got off to a fantastic start of the season, and he's still playing pretty well, but he wasn't quite as sharp in the last two games as he was in the first three. I'm more worried about his sustainability throwing the football at him, about that defense getting better.
Le'Veon Moss, the local kid from Capital, and Walker, he had the big game, almost 140 yards against Auburn, but it was Reuben Owens, the second, Reuben Owens Jr., who had 142, so they got a nice 1-2 punch run to football. Elko likes that, and running game will help out a quarterback as well. Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows. Relief Windows, top quality windows, doors, siding, and shutters, and also exceptional customer service. Go to our website and you can schedule your free quote. Will come out to your house or business, evaluate the situation, give you a little bit of a computer rendering, what you like, what you wouldn't, kind of alter it, things like that. Then when they order your the equipment and it comes in, they'll schedule your installment. They show up exactly on time, install it, clean up after themselves, everything professionally, and then when it's done, they look great, they're functional, and they will last. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com, 288-8138.
See if they can fix the A&M penalties. 22 for over 200 yards the last 2 weeks. That's been holding them up. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
Big dog, how you doing, man?
I'm doing real well. How are you guys doing? I see you guys got a new drink down there in New Orleans. little bit old drink. That must have been one of Charlie or your relatives there with that Kool-Aid hat on there.
Leave it up to the Saints fans to have some level of creativity.
They've been drinking the Kool-Aid for a while.
Listen, I was, it's just those type of things just make me laugh, man. When he made his second interception, I went, where's the Kool-Aid guy?
Yeah.
I mean, he's running down. Oh, yes, indeed. So, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Nice pick, Randy, on the Saints. We want to thank you because, I think all of our pro picks all season long, I'm not all weekend long for the NFL, were like 23-7. You're split on Minnesota. By the time we came on, that game was well into it, so we didn't count it. But what we released on Sunday, including your picks, was 21-5, man. And how close were we to holding on to that Kansas City on Monday night? And well, I sure took plus 320, just in case Trevor Lawrence would engineer that drive coming down the field. But thanks, and congratulations. Been being a big part of our successful week.
Yeah, you guys are welcome, even though it was probably one of the worst weeks I had because of teasers and getting knocked out of Grandissimo with Buffalo. But
you did?
Other
Okay.
than that, a little frustrating with that kind of thing. I still got 2 survivors left in the main one, so hopefully can hang on to them. So we'll see how it goes.
What is Grandissimo down to? That's for those that don't know. That's the $100,000 buy-in for the survivor out of Circa. Yeah.
Sure, started with 69, and if I would have hung on there, it would have been down to 20. But unfortunately, 4 of us got knocked out with the Bills there, so down to 16.
Wow. So that one, and how does your approach differ for one that has 20,000 entries as opposed to 69?
So in a bigger pool, you don't really want to go with a consensus favorite too often. You want to try to stay off that, and you do kind of want a little bit in a shorter pool as well. But you can go a more direct route using some of the more favored teams when it's only a more of a limited pool. When you're in that bigger pool, of course, you don't want to be on that big pick like, let's say, Green Bay this week when the bomb hits.
Yeah. Okay. But you wouldn't try and navigate through with this or the more popular picks, and then when it gets close, maybe pick your spot to kind of go contrarian. So
you can do that. Try to extend yourself, try to get through because, it's going to come down a little bit of a crapshoot too with those Thanksgiving and Christmas weeks.
You do your power ratings for the NFL for your coaches. Where do you put Mike Vrabel?
Mike Vrabel's always been up there, top 10 up to top 5 level coach. It just seems like, and that's one of the things that made me a little mad about taking the Bills, but I really didn't think this New England team would be up to that level this year. But of course, he overinflates those, great underdog coach, and was that way with Tennessee, and had them sitting in the number 1 seat there till they had that bad game there in that playoff game against Cincinnati.
Okay, and so because Browning's going to, he started more games than Burrow and maybe Flacco will. So, but the guys who are projected to start the majority of the games this year, where do you put Drake May in your quarterback rankings?
He's moving up there. Always worry of a second-year quarterback. Sometimes he had a pretty good rookie season, but you never know the second-year blues sometimes when they get more film on him. But he's up there. I mean, he's. Him and Bo Nix, maybe he's ahead of Bo Nix a little bit even. So, he's looking impressive so far with maybe not the greatest weapons in the world, except for maybe the tight end Hunter Henry. So, he's looking pretty good so far.
All 3 of us, because we sort of ranked that draft class, rather, at quarterbacks, all 3 of us had May ahead of Nix. So, in that order. Another guy, and I know you had him ranked, below some of the backups to start the season. But Spencer Rattler, I think maybe his best game, Charlie, on Sunday.
Yeah, you can make
10 starts or so. I mean,
and one of the big knocks on him has been his improvement this year has been that he's cut down on the turnovers, he's cut down on some of the bad plays, but that he wasn't making the big plays. Well, he made a big play in this game. They hit the long bomb to Shaheed. That's what's been lacking for him.
For the starters, Randy, where would you have him?
He's really improved a lot. I got to rank him at. Of course, I had Jake Browning and some of these other guys on these bad quarterbacks. So he's making it up there in the 30s for me after these last after the start of the year. You got to give Kellen Moore a lot of credit too. Looks like he might be a halfway decent coach coming in there. And maybe getting him going a little bit. And these new coaches, you never know what you're going to get. He looks like a way better hire than Aaron Glenn at this point.
Charlie can vouch for me. I had complimentary things to say about the Saints, how they looked to button up. It looked well coached. They looked well coached. Now, if it takes 5 turnovers every week to get a win, well, that's a different story. But, no, I think we had him maybe in the low to mid-20s ranking, but you're seeing progress. And, look, and our buddy Mike Lombardi would tell us, got 25 starts. 25 starts before we pass final judgment. So here's the part, is he improving? Where do you have Trevor Lawrence? Because we saw some real boneheaded things again, but then we saw a really big-time drive, and both with his arm and with his legs. He did some things in that final drive that a lot of quarterbacks can't do.
Yeah, there's the potential's always been there with Lawrence. It's just if he can keep it together throughout a whole game, and the Chiefs kind of, let that go on the final drive. Still more to see on Lawrence as far as I'm concerned, as far as moving him up to any kind of top tier, but he's always been, kind of mid-level for me.
11 to 15 kind of deal?
Yeah, probably right around that range.
Yeah. Oh, no, we agree. I think a lot of, you talk about result-driven. I mean, it's all he is far from a finished product. He is far from a complete project.
Can we say
we start seeing some signs though in that those type of for a young team, a young player, young coach. Man, it could kind of get him going.
Can we say he's benefiting from better coaching this year?
I think that's fair. I think, though, I don't care what your coaching is. Nobody's not having awareness where the damn play clock is unacceptable. Unacceptable for a red shirt's
2 yards past the line of scrimmage. That one. Oof, that one bothered me.
Those type of awareness. Those things have not been different since he's been playing in high school. Randy, let's get to your picks this week in the pros. Who are we looking at?
First game there right away on Thursday night here. We got an overinflated price here with the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm going to take the ugly dog here. Big dog's going to take an ugly dog here, New York Giants. I got them at the 7.5 level. Of course, there's probably only 7s available out there. But the struggle of this, Philly offense, especially in the second half, makes this look like a decent pick here for a game that should be low scoring, here in a short week. So we've seen a dog shine last Thursday night, and I see another one shining here on this Thursday night.
All right, Giants plus the points. Who's next?
Top play here, and this is one we mentioned, when we did the previews here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I took 4.5, and there's now the consensus is right around that 5 level. You got a bad scheduling spot here for Cleveland, not taking the bye, which after that London game, which is a big mistake by the organization, in my opinion. And then you're getting a rookie quarterback making his first, legit road start on top of all this with a Pittsburgh team that's more disciplined and probably getting him back, some guys, Porter and other guys on their defense from injuries. So I see this as a feeding frenzy for the Pittsburgh Steelers to cover this number.
All right, the Steelers coming off their bye. Would you, real quick, Randy? Would you take the Steelers at plus 115 to win the division?
Yeah, I think that's definitely live. I actually made a bet last week. I should have mentioned on the show with Baltimore to not make the playoffs at like plus 280.
Okay.
You know, and I don't even know if
Yeah,
that's available now. I'm sure that's
plus 140 is available. Oh, 140 is
yeah,
available.
That's starting to get a little low. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'll lose again this week. So 1-5, it's going to be tough for them.
No, and that's the thing. If you go and bet the Steelers to win the North, now's the time because it looks like you should pick up another game this week with the matchups. All right, your next pick.
I'm going to go with a total here, even though I do kind of like the Miami side a little bit. But I like the over 43 in this Miami Charger game. Chargers lost another running back, so they're going to be limited with what they can do on the rushing, so they should have a lot more throwing in this game. And, of course, we know the Miami offense is wide open, and their defense just doesn't have the weapons with Weaver, the defensive coach, even though we like him, but they can't stop opponents. You've seen that in the second half against Carolina. And this Charger team got exposed, too, with Daniels there in the second half against Washington. So I see this game being a little faster pace, and you got, our coach Capri Pants there calling up some plays, and I think there'll be plenty of points scored.
Coach Capri Pants is under a little bit of pressure down there. He may not make it much longer, but maybe one more week. Hassan Haskins will probably get the start for the Chargers this week.
Up against the break. Randy, anything else this week?
No, that's all I got right now. Kind of a shorter card than the 5 I had last week.
Okay. All right, Big Dog. We'll be in touch on Sunday as we broadcast Football Sunday live from Caesars in New Orleans, the Sportsbook in New Orleans. Saints in New England kick off at noon. They flex that thing from 3:05 to noon. So come on by if you go and watch the Saints. Maybe the Kool-Aid guy can stop on by. Hey, Kool-Aid!
Hey, oh yeah!
You see Charlie running out with the big Kool-Aid head hunt through the paper like the high school kids run through.
Look at a big picture. Like a big picture.
I knew you guys would know that guy, so I bring it up.
Yeah, we're old enough.
Randy, you're the best, man. Good luck to you at RR39. Thank you, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys. Good luck, everybody out there.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. A full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Our great long-standing team at Legacy Title. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. She's Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title. 296-0060.
Live at Modesto. Live at lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Charlie, Maryland, and Washington. We talked about the two young great quarterbacks, Williams and Washington, for these two teams. And Maryland jumped all over Washington 20-0. So Washington kicks a field goal with 3:48 left to go in the third. So, it's a 3-score game, field goal. That doesn't do anything. Maryland goes 3-and-out. Washington, 72 yards, touchdown, 2010. Maryland goes 3-and-out, 75 yards, touchdown, 2017. 1 first down and 20 yards and a punt, 80 yards, 24-20 final. Williams on those 3 touchdown drives of 72, 75, and 80, 13-14 for 163 and a few more with his legs. You talk about struggling for 3 quarters and finishing strong. Damn.
Yeah, they were good. And I wonder if Maryland's we took them last week. We liked the spot with Washington having to go cross-country after Ohio State like that. But I wonder if they're a little bit of a paper tiger. The wins are not anything that's good. Their best win is Wisconsin.
Charlie, their over-under was 4.5.
Yeah. So,
they're going to be about 6-6 or 7-5.
Nebraska going in there this week off of what was a all over the place game against Michigan State.
Nebraska could have been had if Michigan State's. How about their special teams, huh?
Yeah.
Michigan State.
Gosh.
That
game took time off my life.
Atrocious. It should have.
Hour number 2 at Modesto, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
Here at Modesto, live at lunch, see Rabelais on the out on the lanai having an Arnold Palmer, just waiting for the football game this weekend. Scott, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. It's still a little warm for the lanai. You know, I'm waiting for a slightly cooler weather. Although at night it's really nice. I usually do a lot of walking around my neighborhood at night, and late at night it's getting there. It's just not coming fast enough.
Jimmy tells me fall will be here soon. So
it's coming this weekend. This weekend's going to be really good, man. The low's going to maybe creep into the high 50s.
Okay, that would be better. That would be better.
Yeah.
Patience, grasshopper. Come on, man.
Yeah, we're good at that. Scott, it seems like it's been a long time since LSU played a football game. All this time off, with a chance to correct some things and get yourself going here for the, as we get ready to make the turn for the second half of the season. How would you rate the mood around there and the ability to fix the things that are ailing them right now on offense?
Oh, I think listening to Brian Kelly and going to talk to players yesterday, I think they always think they have the answers. You're right. I think they always think that things are fixable and that they could get things going. I think I would say the mood is better inside the walls of the football complex than it is outside. I think outside people are very pensive. They know, LSU obviously coming off a loss to Ole Miss. Now they're doing this October schedule. It's only 3 games, but they're 3 very pivotal games, and you gotta, as I keep saying, using the term, you gotta hold serve. To start this stretch against South Carolina with a unusually tough road game coming up to Vandy next week, and tougher than usual game it would seem with Texas A&M on the back end. I think Les Miles would say that, right? The back end, the front end. Yeah, I think it was a Les Miles term. And so I would say the mood is pensive, nervous, but it's certainly compelling, and look. LSU's in a similar boat, like a lot of teams. I really think there's 20, 25, 30 teams maybe that could make the college football playoff at this point, or at least have legitimate aspirations. And LSU is one of those teams, but they all have a lot of work to do. And if LSU, that starts this weekend with a very winnable but also dangerous game against the Gamecocks.
I might even go a little higher, Scott, but no, it's really good. It's there's how many teams are really in it for the Big 12? There's a lot. There's a lot, so, the ACC, I guess Miami, but no, there's been a common conversation of ours of the, spreading the wealth a little bit.
It's open.
How open it is, yeah. And a lack of a superpower, maybe Ohio State could be that team. We're not sure.
And from the attitude standpoint, that cocoon does its job when you do it right. And what I mean by that is I got a little kick out of when Les lost a job, that he was flabbergasted that there were people that were really frustrated with what they were doing offensively, and some coaches claimed to not hear the noise, but Les never did. He never. It's never occurred to him that anybody outside the program would be doing it. So when he got out of the building, it was like, wait a minute, you guys don't like me? No, there's been some frustration for a while. The players now, if they want to, can go home. Most of their class, a lot of their classes are online, and then into the building, go to practice, go to film, go to study hall, go home, go to bed. You can insulate yourself if you choose to. So I agree with you on that. That attitude can be good. However, there are physical problems to fix. So Jimmy and I were having a discussion to start the show. Easier to fix or more likely to be fixed, Nussmeier's problems or the offensive line / running game problems?
I think Nussmeier, because we've certainly seen the kind of quarterback he can be, and hasn't been so far this year. I think as a group, I'm always wary, guys, and this goes back a long time. When I see people saying, we can fix things, we can clean things up, we can be, the cake is a lot baked by this point. I do think the LSU's offensive line has some room for growth, but are they going to be appreciably better as a running team in November when they go to Oklahoma than they are now? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit better, but I don't think they're going to be appreciably better. But Nussmeier, I think can be. Now I'm as anxious. There's no word this is wrong. Eager. I'm as eager as anyone to see how he looks Saturday night if he's had time to rest. Yeah, Kelly said was open, and I think he's being truthful. He said he didn't throw last week. he's doing other things, VR and watching a lot of film and that sort of thing. And he knows how to throw. Obviously, you want that muscle memory. But we're all very eager to see what he looks like and see if he's improved. He looked improved against Southeastern, right? And then he had this game against Ole Miss where he just kind of shot putting these long passes down the field. And obviously, that's got to improve. And I think it can. If I had to pick one or the other, I certainly would pick him over the running game of the offensive line.
With the three-man fronts that gave him trouble against Ole Miss, is there going to be a renewed emphasis on run games against small box size? That's something he talked about just a couple of hours ago on the SEC teleconference.
I certainly think there should be. I'm of the opinion. And obviously, people can disagree that they have not been as. They're not as committed to the run as they should be. I mean, two carries in the first half of the true running backs, right, against Ole Miss. I mean, they did a little better in the second half of the game offensively, and won. Kind of won the second half. You could say, but they got to be more committed to trying to power through and stuff like that. And we had Braylon Moore yesterday, the center, who. You said, it's on them to open more holes and to try to do a better job. I think they have, Caden Durham will be back. That should help. I don't know if him playing against Ole Miss would have meant they would have won the game. I don't think so, but it'll help. So yeah, they've got to be more committed to it. And you would. This is where we all wonder what is going on inside the structure of this coaching staff. I hear Brian Kelly say something like after the game, well, Frank Wilson, the running backs coach, kind of determines who's got the hot hand and who's running the ball. Alex Atkins is the running game coordinator, and, of course, Joe Sloan is calling the plays. But you're the head coach. What do you want? What do you think is important? What do you think needs to be emphasized? What do you think needs to improve? And I hear that from Brian in a broad sense. I certainly think he's involved, but I also think I get the impression, as maybe y'all do too, that he hires people he wants to trust, and he delegates them to do the job. But I think right now this calls for the head coach to say, do this, run this play. Like on the goal line against Tennessee in 2010, right? He took left Miles, said, we're giving the ball to Ridley. We're not screwing around with it.
Everybody in a 20-mile radius knew Ridley was getting the ball right there. It's a lot of cooks putting seasoning in the gumbo. But yes. We'll see. You want to take a crack at a starting offensive line Saturday?
Yeah, I think
I'll give you three of them. You can give me the other two.
Okay,
I'll give you Adams at left tackle, Moore at center, and Thompson at right guard. It's the other two spots where Paul Mubenga, at least it doesn't look like he's going to be available on Saturday. And then you got Weston Davis is apparently is going to be healthy enough to go. You got Carius Kern that could go maybe at either position. And then you got DJ Chester. You also got Cohen Eccles who could go at left guard, and you got DJ Chester who could go literally anywhere. So you want to take a. You talked to Braylon Moore yesterday. You want to take a stab at this?
I will say I think Weston Davis comes back to start at right tackle, and they go with Chester at left guard with Kern spelling people as they go. I'd like to see them roll the dice. It's easy for me to say, and then you can come back and criticize if it doesn't work. But I'd like to see them roll the dice with Carius Kern at right tackle. But as you said, Charlie, I like his aggressiveness and like him just flat laying down on people. That meanness. I think they're not quite ready to. This is just an impression. I don't think anyone's actually verbalized, but this impression that I'm not quite ready to trust his inexperience over the long haul, and because one factor being that not just as an experience, but he can make some mistakes. Some guy slips through and nails Nussmeier, and maybe he re-aggravates an injury. So I think if I had to pick, I'd say Chester at left tackle, left guard, and Davis back at tackle. But I think we'll see some of Carius Kern, spotting people at whatever position. Some will get tweaked during the game, and he'll get in for some meaningful snaps.
Yeah, I don't like your picks. I would go with Cohen Eccles at left guard. I would go with Cohen Eccles at left guard and Karius Kern at right tackle. They had pretty good pass blocking grades. Their run game, I would hope, would come along. I'm giving you a hard time, but I think you're closer to being correct. It's just not what I would do, and they never asked me. So
you asked me what I'm going to do and what I think they're going to do. Those are
right. No. You answered the question perfectly, Scott. It's just I don't like the way that it went. Last year against South Carolina, Lenore Sellers had a phenomenal first half. Really couldn't go in the second half for very long, and LSU managed to pull out the game. They ducked a field goal at the end. You've seen Sellers a couple of times this year. Kind of give me a comparison, what you think last year to this year and how LSU might defend him.
Yeah, I just don't think – I think he's still a quality quarterback and one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, one of the top, handful of quarterbacks in the SEC. I just don't think he's got the supporting cast in general around him that he had last year. Yeah, I think if he played the whole game last year in Columbia, they would have pulled it out. I'm still amazed LSU won that game, quite honestly. But I think he's the kind of guy, somewhat in the vein of DJ Lagway, who obviously committed a lot of turnovers. I'm not saying I would expect him to come in and throw 5 interceptions, but that can make some noise, can make some yards with his arm and with his legs. So he hasn't been running as much this year. And but it's going to be, I think I see the LSU defense bending but not breaking very much against them. Eventually South Carolina will do something to screw a drive up or something like that. They haven't wowed me at all this season. I mean they beat a sorry Virginia Tech team, ground that went out, beat SC State, kind of like LSU's win over Southeastern, got hammered by Vanderbilt, lost to Missouri, and they beat what you figure is a pretty bad Kentucky team last time out. So he's dangerous. He can. He's obviously their hopes are riding on him. But Charlie, it's like this game and next week against Vanderbilt. I just can't see LSU losing this game. They've lost to South Carolina once since 1930. One time. I just don't see them losing the game.
I'm trying to think when it was.
That was 1994. The Curly Holman. Curly Holman last year. I think that's the game it's kind of 18-17. It was. That was a reaction. Like remember I think it was right after the Auburn game. Right after all the Jamie Howard threw all the interceptions at Auburn.
It was.
They came back and really shut down the offense, and they blew it.
I was on the tail end of being a student at that point. Yeah, I remember that game. It was particularly frustrating. They came back the next year.
12th or 13th year of your academic career.
It was closer to the beginning. The next year they came back and tied them. DiNardo's first year.
Oh, that was the calling out. Kevin Falk could run the options.
Cedric Wilson, I think, caught a touchdown pass.
That was they scrambled late in Columbia, but I think the loss was here, though, right?
The loss was here. Yeah. It was.
Tannehill.
That was the last tie in LSU history.
Tannehill quarterback on that team, Scott?
Maybe.
It sounds right. I'm trying to remember. I do remember Cedric Wilson's touchdown catch. But that was the last time LSU had a tie. The overtime rule went into effect the next year. And so it's kind of,
nice trivia question. If Cedric's out there listening, he had a big day that day. Scott, we appreciate
Thomasville, Georgia?
Maybe. We appreciate it, Scott. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Shed. I knew him in college, man. He was a good guy. Real good.
He was.
Guy.
He's a real leader on that '95 team. The transition year, the bring back the magic year. He's a guy DiNardo.
So I was
depended on
in New Orleans for I think it was the 2003 national championship game where Georgia was no Sean Marino and all that crew played Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl. So I was there, and it was a half suite.
No.
Was that 07?
That was 07.
07,
yeah.
Okay, 07. And Shedrick's, there was some Georgia fans in the suite, including his old high school coach.
Nice.
So really, just loved him.
He was a quality player, quality guy.
Quality kid.
Yeah, no, Donato counted on him as a leader.
Yeah,
for
him
sure.
and Jamie were very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
We are brought to you by the Thibodeau store and the Pierreport store, and they have expanded the family now. Just in the last 2 weeks, they have opened the LaRose store and the Lockport store. All of the things that you've come to expect out of the Pierreport store, which has been around for over 113 years. The Thibodeau store, high-quality products with extremely positive customer service. Where you're going into those home projects, you need a little bit of advice. They'll make sure you're not wasting time and money. But it's so much more than just hardware stores. Jimmy can vouch for that because we've talked about the outdoor kitchens and your tailgating equipment that you can get. Get on the website, thethibodeaustore.com. You can arrange for same-day pickup or, in some of these cases, delivery. And with the exceptional tailgating weather coming up.
That's right.
You want to get to one of these properties.
Yes, indeed. So, man, outdoor cook. You go on to campus and cooking, man, get over to the Thibodeau store, the Pierreport store, or the others, LaRose and Lockport, and they've got everything you can imagine and then some for your outdoor cooking, on-site cooking, for tailgating, festivals, or just in your back, your outdoor kitchen in your backyard. I love it, man. I loaded up, man. It's a little slice of Christmas for you outdoor cooks when you visit the Thibodeau store and Pierreport store.
Live at Modesto, live at Lunch 104.5, ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Wes, how you doing, buddy? You getting excited for Eugene?
I am excited. Going to be heading up there tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to get a rainy day on Saturday for Indiana and Oregon. But like Eminem says, if it rains, let it rain. Yeah, the wetter, the better. So hopefully we get a monsoon up there in Oregon on
From
Saturday.
Eminem to ABBA to Air Supply. The man's got it all. I mean, huh?
This is a real musical ensemble here.
Well, hey, What do you think of the Hoosiers' chances? How they match up?
I think they got a very good chance, and certainly the market does. The market, I think, seems to give this a little bit more respect than maybe the national media does, because the money has come in early, at least on Indiana. I know that there was kind of a rogue opener of 10.5. That wasn't the global opener, but that got immediately hit to the Indiana side. Now it's a little north of 7. That's probably where I think it's going to stay throughout the weekend. I think Indiana's got a good shot. But if you really look at the metrics, they're very similar. Now, Oregon has that speed, and that certainly concerns you. And what really concerns me is not necessarily Dante Moore throwing the ball. It's him running the ball. Because Indiana got hit for a couple big runs in that opener against Old Dominion, which that win is looking better all the time as Old Dominion keeps keeping them off in the Fun Belt. But Indiana's got to walk more. He can make plays with his legs, and that's what worries you a little bit. But I think that they're going to be able to run the ball, especially on the perimeter against Oregon. Maybe not so much in between the tackles, but look, Kurt Cignetti's got these guys believing. And I sometimes belief is enough. There's been very little bulletin board material between the two teams because I think both these coaches respect each other and what they've done. But certainly a big challenge for Indiana, but I think they're ready for it. They're more ready for it now than they certainly were last year when they had to go to Columbus to face Ohio State.
Well, Charlie, what was the 4 teams we put out that we said we liked their line of scrimmage? Oregon, Texas Tech, Miami. Was it
Ohio State?
Was it Ohio State?
Yeah.
Was it Ohio State? Up front, Wes, so far, I like what I see out of those teams. Maybe, I knocked Texas off of that for sure. But can Indiana get in that club a little bit? You think? I thought the rushing yardage was real stingy from Penn State. Now, Penn State couldn't run the ball with the running backs against UCLA, so I don't know. But how do you think? You think they'll be able to run the football against Oregon? I really respect their front.
They got to do it on the perimeter, and that's where I was wrong on Oregon going into the season because I thought, okay, they're going to be really good off the edge because they can get pressure with their front four. They don't send a lot of blitzes like Iowa did against Mendoza a couple weeks ago. But I thought, between the tackles, I'm not so sure about these guys. I became more sure after I saw it against Penn State where they couldn't really run the ball. So Indiana's going to have to be creative and maybe, get some action out towards the edge. And then on the defensive side, what's really surprised me with the Hoosiers this year is the defensive line. And it hasn't been Kamara, the All-American transfer from James Madison. It's been these young guys that have been productive, the young defensive tackles that they have. And they've got a little depth there. They certainly were able to hold their own, more than hold their own against Illinois, really dominated their offensive line. Iowa, a little bit more of a stalemate, and they'll certainly have a challenge. They're an undersized group against this Oregon team, but that's pretty typical what you see, the defensive line smaller than the opposing offensive line.
Charlie, it's a tough question, but I saw some people rank sort of grades on the best wins in college football this year. And some of them are, we thought Oregon going to Penn State was beating them. Okay, that was a big one. But, how good is Penn State? And some of the, Miami beat Florida State or
Alabama at Georgia is the one that stands out. But if Georgia loses to Auburn this weekend, then that loses some steam. And they're not a huge favorite at Jordan-Hare.
Indiana against Illinois. Just a demolishing, a team. So it's up there. It's tricky though. So we will see. So it's a 7.5 is the line on that one. Wes, congratulations. Thank you, man, because Denver and the Saints were part of a 21-5 football Sunday collective with all of our contributors and ourselves. Who we looking at in the NFL this week?
Yeah, I got a couple this week, and we're going to go right back to one of those teams. Let's go back to the New Orleans Saints. Maybe get a coincidence streak. Maybe get 2 in a row here. I like them plus 3.5 against the Patriots. I did play the Patriots Sunday night, but now that you beat the Bills, and now Drake May's starting to get that national attention, like, hey, this is one of the emerging young stud quarterbacks in the league. Now you go to New Orleans, and New Orleans got a little bit of feel-good right now. They finally got a win, with the exception of that Seattle game that was a disaster from the word go. They've actually been competitive in every game. They were right there with the 49ers a couple weeks ago. They were right there in the opener. They beat the Giants last week. So, and I'm not saying the Saints are all of a sudden good, but I think they're good enough here. I think that this is a little bit of a tricky spot for New England. So give me the Saints at 3.5, and then also, go ahead and give me the Chiefs at laying under 3. When Patrick Mahomes is laying under 3 or taking points, I'm going to be on him. And I know everybody loves the Lions right now. And the Lions, after that first loss, have won 4 in a row, and they look like a juggernaut. But I think they played some teams in some good spots where they were right for the getting, like Cincinnati last week. I don't think it was that Detroit was that great. I think Cincinnati, especially with Browning at quarterback, there's a reason why they trade for 89-year-old Joe Flacco, because Jake Browning wasn't doing the job against Detroit. So Kansas City, I'll buy them on the low in a primetime game at 2-3 with the season maybe a little on the brink against the Lions.
In the NFL, all right, who are we looking at in college this week, Wes?
Yeah, besides the fact that I did take a little bit of Hoosiers plus 7.5, you mentioned one of those teams about how Penn State couldn't run the ball against UCLA. I'm going to fade UCLA this week. Michigan State 0-2 in the Big Ten. But they didn't really embarrass themselves on the road against USC or Nebraska, even though they lost by double digits. This is a game they got to have if they want to get bowl eligible, I think, in Jonathan Smith's second year coming in from Oregon State. So I wonder how much emotional energy UCLA has after last week when they carried Jerry Neuheisel off the field. So laying it with Michigan State, and then a couple SEC home underdogs this week. And Charlie already mentioned one of them. The Auburn Tigers down on the plain. I like them plus 3.5 against Georgia, who I still think is very good. But, boy, this Georgia team, they look, they don't look infallible necessarily, as Alabama showed. And I think Auburn with that bye week, the offense has been a little bit anemic, but, might have some tricks up their sleeves against Georgia, who I don't think is dominant up front as they've been in recent years. You guys certainly watch that team more than I like Auburn at home, and also like Mizzou. Mizzou is kind of like the Indiana of the SEC, I think, right now. It's getting a little bit slept on in the national media. Now you got Alabama, who they were ready to fire Kalen DeBoer. They're like, he can't coach at Alabama. He's not good enough to be here. And now he's 4-1, and they look like almost the team to beat in the SEC. Well, not so fast. I think Mizzou's been waiting for him. Mizzou's been home since the start of the season and off the bye week. I like Bo Pribula. So give me Mizzou at home to beat Alabama outright.
All right. Yeah, Missouri's not in the SEC, Wes. We still haven't grasped them down here in Baton Rouge either. So
maybe Missouri and Maryland could just get in their own conference together because neither one of them are in the right league, right? Going back to the old one.
I don't know. Charlie, you like this one, though. I looked up to see who was going to start at quarterback for Michigan State. Aiden Childs, and this is the AI overview, just to keep in mind, AI. Aiden Childs is starting quarterback for the Michigan State Spartans with a team success in its upcoming game against UCLA, depending on his performance. Childs has had a strong start to the season, passing for 953 and 9 touchdowns. Was he strong on Saturday, Charlie, in Lincoln?
He looked like absolute garbage most of the day.
He was 9 for 23.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but it was a bad 9 for 23. Yeah. I mean, this guy was so bad.
I'll give it. He made a couple of runs on some conversion downs. I'll give him that. But no, he was a mess. And it was. Wes, that's one of my favorite picks this week is Michigan State. I think UCLA's. I think it was a fluke. Look, for one day, they were the absolute, belle of the ball. Okay, give them credit. That the game wasn't a fluke, but the idea that they could sustain that. And I'm reminded of a game that LSU played in 1993 against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And Alabama hadn't lost a game. They had tied one, but they hadn't lost a game in almost 2 seasons. And LSU was terrible. They were right in the middle of the Curly Holman era. They were terrible. They beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa that day, one of the most improbable wins in LSU history. And 2 weeks later, they thought, hey, man, look, they're back in Tiger Stadium. They can go to a bowl game for the first time in 4 years. And Arkansas ran them completely out of the stadium. So I think that's what's going to happen to UCLA.
Hey, Wes, Nick Marsh came in after Child's 4th down conversion, again, and Nebraska punched it in to cover the spread at that point. He takes him 75 yards and, just bang, bang, bam to cover, backdoor cover. This is what Jonathan Smith says between Aiden Childs and Nick March. Those guys love each other and all that. Nick is a really good player. Finding a way to get his rep count continue to go up, and we're hoping it looks a lot different on Saturday. Interpretation on that quote?
Yeah, look, Childs has been a little bit inconsistent. Now, he came with Smith, of course, from Oregon State, and they brought his quarterback coach in, actually, on staff this year. So you thought maybe that kid was going to take the lead, and he hasn't. So that's what gives me a little bit of reluctance. But, they're going to play two. It's really more of a fade of UCLA, like Charlie said. I just wonder how much they have left in the tank, because I thought maybe this was an Oklahoma State situation, where it's a total mess in Stillwater. Coaches getting let go, kids going in the portal. So I don't know if I all of a sudden think UCLA kind of rallies around the family now and starts winning a bunch of games. So I still like the Spartans.
Would you say there was a little emotion on the field in the Rose Bowl Saturday?
Well, the only kids that went out there, they arrested.
All 6 of them. I've been to a game at UCLA, and I think you guys have as well, where it's usually more opposing fans. And they were storming the field, and there was this one little girl running, and the security guard just couldn't catch her. But let him have a little glory out in Westwood there with that upset over Penn.
It was like the end of a romance movie between Jerry Neuheisel and his wife. And Nico started. He was a different quarterback, but he threw in the second half for a whopping 8 yards in that win. So
what's the interim coach, by the way, got to be thinking, man, when it's like, okay, the boy wonder's getting carried off the field. Like, what about me?
Right.
They're chanting Jerry, and not Skipper.
He's fine with it. He made the move, so he's the head coach in college athletics gets all the blame or everything's ultimately his decision. So he's getting a little run. So Wes, safe travels, man. Enjoy it. What time is kickoff on Saturday?
3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific.
Okay.
We are the CBS game in the old SEC slot. So Ness and Danielson got to be happy that they're getting a good game here on Saturday.
That's right. That was the broadcast team at UCLA Penn State on Saturday. We will be watching, buddy. Good luck to you, man. Enjoy it.
Thanks a lot, fellas, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. So Wes is. Can you believe this? What's going on in college football where Indiana is going there and with a chance?
And this is 2 years in a row. And
there's a chance Oregon could be the best team in the country, huh?
And this is one of the best quarterback matchups that you'll see all year with Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza right now, these two guys, it's not going to be a shock if Moore wins the Heisman and Mendoza's the first pick in the draft. both of those guys are in contention for those particular things. They may come up a little bit short, but you don't get a whole lot like this.
There was something in the air that night.
I had to say.
The stars were bright. Fernando.
Yeah. You know, I had forgotten about that song until you tried to sing it, and then I went and looked it up on YouTube because I wanted somebody to sing it, like, on key.
Oh, come on, man.
It's not one of ABBA's better songs.
It is now, brother. It is
popular.
It is now.
Popular.
Our friends at Workbox and Workbox Services, and with their new second office, and allowing us to reach all of our services all the way down the Gulf Coast through New Orleans, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and serving all the areas here that I've mentioned and everywhere in between. Martine Sr. joined now by Martine Jr., Hannah, Brandy, Chris Brooks, and man, the home boxes for residential moving storage is ideal, man. You get a moving van, you got to get that thing back. You take your time with the home boxes, where take your time loading it up at the house you're selling or you're moving from, and then when it's done, home box will move it to the new house at the date and the time that you request, and then you can take your time unloading it when you get to your new home. It's really cool stuff. Call our friends at Workbox 343-4886, workboxllc.com.
Live at Modesto, live at Lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Here at Modesto Live at Lunch, we're brought to you by the Morris Insurance Group. Look again for those hard-to-insure properties and items. Your fishing and hunting camps in coastal areas. If you're looking for flood insurance, you need to insure your boats, your RVs, your trailers, your tractors, your motorcycles. Let Buzzy Heidel and all the folks over at Morris Insurance Group help you out. You can get a quote online, morris-ig.com. Get you a quote pretty quick, or you can give them a call, 225-201-0007, 201-0007 for auto, homeowners, and commercial insurance as well. It's the Morris Insurance Group online, morris-ig.com. Quick clarification on that Michigan State quarterback situation before we move on.
Yeah, the name of the quarterback, the backup quarterback that drove Michigan State for the backdoor coverage is not Charles. It's Milivojevic. And beware with the AI stuff. I mean, it said that the starting quarterback, Aiden Childs, returned back to play. That was not accurate. When they onside kicked and Nebraska took 3 knees and kneeled it out. But on the depth chart, it is Childs who is a starter, and Milivojevic, who that's his most extensive play this year, was 6 for 7 for 75 yards and a TD. But he's the backup in. I know that it's got the Michigan State fan base certainly chirping. So they're talking about it a lot because it was a rough day on Saturday. And Charles had played steady, played solid ball until that point. We talked about that Friday night game against USC where they covered there. He was adequate. He's playing solid ball. It was a rough day on Saturday in Lincoln. And Nebraska was there to be had because what is a block punt for a touchdown or return? I mean, like, almost 14, 17 points given to them on special teams.
It was. They were dominating on the yardstick for a while there. Let me run this story by you. This happened earlier today. The NCAA's Administrative Council has adopted a proposal that if it's enacted, which it could be enacted very, very quickly, would allow college student athletes to gamble on pro sports. Would allow coaches and support staff of NCAA member schools to gamble on pro sports. It's still got to be approved by Division II and Division III, but usually when it gets this far, they've got the votes in their pockets. They could do this, but they could ratify this by the end of this month, meaning that if they agree to this, college athletes could start gambling on pro sports as early as November the 1st. That's like this November the 1st, like in a little over 3 weeks. This surprises me. Okay, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I believe in personal accountability. So if they tell you to you can do this and you do it, and you're not giving up information and all that stuff. you ought to be able to do that. But I'm surprised that they went this far with this. That they would allow them.
My jaw is dropping right now. And everybody on college campuses is gambling, but I mean they're not. You certainly, if you're allowing them to bet on pro sports, are they more prone to bet on college?
Well, they're more prone to bet on anything. I would have been less surprised if the NFL would have said, "We'll let our players gamble on college sports or maybe other pro sports," because those guys are adults. They know what's on the line. Like my job is done.
They're not talking about 18 and 19-year-old college players. They're not allowed. I mean, it's not legal.
Okay.
Not saying that 18 and 19-year-old kids aren't gambling.
Maybe adults was the wrong word to use. Let me use the word professional then, because when Michael Porter's brother, I forgot his first name, was caught gambling on an NBA prop that he basically faked an injury to get out of the game so his props would go under. They caught him and they banned him for life. The pro guys know what's at stake if they break the rules. Their livelihood is done. Their ability to make a living is done. The college kids, most of them, the vast majority of them are not going to play pro sports, or if they do, it's going to be for a limited amount of time. I mean, yeah, they're going to be the guys that make life-changing money, the Joe Burrows and Jamar Chases of the world, but the big majority of them are playing college sports. They're getting their NIL money and all that stuff. And then when the last game's over, that's it. So if they see a chance to make a big hit, the temptation's going to be there.
Charlie, the college athletes are professionals. They're paid. They're paid. They negotiate wages.
They are.
That's over.
But they're not making life-changing money the way the pro guys are. In most cases, some of them are. Some of them are.
Well.
But the risk is with the
legality,
right?
Doesn't care. Are you 21 or you pro? I mean, you don't get into, well, it's not that much money. Well, is minimum wage workers not allowed to gamble on sports?
They are.
Because they're not making life-changing money?
They are.
No,
I'm saying that's the risk, though.
I just don't know.
The kid that doesn't make any money.
No. You got to be careful encouraging college athletes who are to encouraging to gamble on sports.
Yeah.
And it's not maybe or allowing them. It's
You're in your last year of college eligibility, and you know a guy that plays for pick your NFL team. Okay, they talk all the time, right? They're still friends.
Yeah. Hey, honey, you going shopping? Yeah. You could go in the sports book, but you can't. But you don't bet on them. I mean, I don't know, man. That's a bad analogy, maybe. It surprises me, but legally, it should pass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Legally, it should pass. And
your personal choice, okay? I mean,
I know. I'm 21. I can, if I choose to gamble on. Yeah.
And for those that are worried about the improprieties, it's easier to catch the improprieties if they are gambling legally. I mean, that's how they caught Porter.
And if you gamble at 100%, if you gamble because if you run up a tab and have credit with your neighborhood book, your local bookie, that's where when you owe money, you can't bet what you don't put up legally.
Right.
So that's you betting illegally. It certainly creates a more compromised situation for a college student athlete. I agree with that. Now, did I lose so much? But you're allowed to go into debt with the, it's a surprise, but it should pass. Huh? I don't play an attorney on the radio, but gosh, how does it not pass? Huh?
If they have gotten as far as the D1 Administrative Council adopting this, they're not going to be. I would be surprised if they were stymied by Division II and Division III, which is the only people left to vote on this.
You follow this as much as anybody, and you just said, they're not pros. Yeah, the hell they ain't.
Well, you're right.
They are paid.
Pros.
I mean, should they be scrutinized and treated. It's just, hey, man, this is part of the territory. Me and you, we give up some of our personal life. We're taking this format on.
Yeah.
Okay? Just that, hey, you can't have it both ways. You can't get paid and then still be treated like an amateur.
Right.
You can't.
And my point was, and I probably didn't use the right words, you get a kid that's making very little or no NIL, okay, and he gets himself into a bind with this stuff, or he's trying to, maybe he thinks he can provide information or whatever.
He could get in more of a bind with betting illegally, Charlie, already.
No, I'm not saying don't do that either, okay, but you're providing them with.
What kind of bind can you get in besides you can only bet what you can use all your rent money, your apartment money, your per diem, whatever.
You start to sell information to other guys. That would be the concern I would have.
You're more prone. You're more compromised by running up a tab. Hey man, we'll scratch your tab.
No, I
get
right. No question that the illegal is more than the legal.
Yes,
I'm surprised.
And like you said, you certainly could police it more if they're with the Porter's never getting caught. Never getting caught if he's not mobile. Without the mobile betting.
Right.
Never.
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't have had the amount.
John. Yeah.
That's
Porter's brother. So anyway, we're over here at Modesto today, reminding you again, game day specials. Man, we're less than a mile walk to Tiger Stadium at Modesto here on Burbank, just off of Nicholson. $3 fireball shots and tequila drop shots, domestic bottles. $3 for fireball shots, tequila drop shots, or domestic bottles. $4 imports in hard seltzers, 32-ounce margaritas for just $21. Additional menu items like the pickled jalapeno fries, tomato tango wrap, shrimp flautas, birria burger, and game day nachos. Don't forget, tonight and every Wednesday night here at Modesto, 4 p.m. to close. We get it's a margarita sampler, margarita flights or tequila flights. So, but jalapeno pineapple margarita, skinny berry, the mango, you can do them traditional. You can do them however you want. So that's every Wednesday night, tequila and margarita flights here at Modesto on Burbank.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today, the first day of 49 consecutive days with a football game, all the way until the day before Thanksgiving. You'll have a football game, either college or the NFL somewhere. But we also got Major League Baseball today. Playoff baseball starting at 2 o'clock. 4 games today, 2 in each league.
September 7th, the last time the Detroit Tigers have won at Comerica Field in Detroit. They lose last night. We had Seattle and the Yankees yesterday, so one knows. How about the 6-1 comeback in Yankee Stadium? Aaron Judge 2-on with a bomb off the left field foul pole. Bryce Miller has been the weakest starter for Seattle coming down the stretch here. So Casey Mize is kind of, after all-star appearance, then kind of tapering off a little bit. He's getting back into form. So the Auburn product taking Casey Mize at home. Tyon has been unbelievable. Priester's been very good for most of the season. Tyon's been better, like the Cubbies there. And then Schlittler, he's back after his outstanding record performance last time. Big pitching advantage there, as well as with the Dodgers against LSU's Aaron Nola. So all 4 home teams, legitimate pitching advantage today.
Thanks to Modesto. Tomorrow we're at Walk-Ons. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.